listeners, it's Jana. Welcome back to Grief Out Loud. Today, November 1st, kicks off Children's Grief Awareness Month, 30 days of highlighting the voices of children and teens who are grieving. At Dougy Center, we're lucky to learn every day from kids and teens who share their hard-won insights, humor, and unique take on what it means to live alongside loss and grief. About a month ago, I was thinking, how great would it be if the rest of the world could also learn from them? So I decided to try to put together a compilation episode of recordings from kids and teens. I wasn't sure anyone would want to participate, but thanks to their generosity and the enthusiasm of my coworkers and listeners of the show, we were able to put together a full episode. You're going to hear from kids as young as 3 and teens as old as 18. It's not an understatement to say that interviewing 3-year-olds put my skills to the test. We asked these kids and teens to respond to prompts like what it felt like when they heard their person died, what they would do or say if they could see their person one more time, and how their grief feels now and what they hope it will feel like in the future. Funny side note, we discovered that not all kids understand what the word grief actually means, even though they talk about it all the time. Even funnier was how hard it was for us as adults to actually define it. Here's what they had to say about what they thought and felt when they first found out their person died.
When my person died, I felt sad and weird.
When my dad died, I felt sad.
When I heard the news, I felt very sad and sick to my stomach when it happened.
When my dad died, I felt anger. I felt sad, of course. I felt depressed all the time. I didn't really, I wanted to talk about it, but I also didn't really.
When my sister died, I felt really numb. I felt like this can't happen. It's like page out of your life.
When my father died, I felt kind of relieved in some way because it made things easier, but I was also angry because I didn't get to say the things I needed to say.
When my dad died, I felt it was kind of like a dream. I felt like it didn't really happen because, I don't know, it doesn't happen in life most of the time.
When my dad died, I felt angry, depressed, shocked.
I felt sad, anxious, lonely, kind of numb sometimes, but mainly anxious about what they would think if they were alive. Because when my dad died, at least, it was really hard for me in school to focus and get my work done. So that made my grades drop, and so that made me really anxious about what they would feel if they were alive.
When my dad died, I felt shocked because I never thought he would do such a thing.
When my mom died, I felt lost and scared and confused because she was one of my main guiders in life, and after I lost her, I felt like I didn't have a purpose because she wasn't there to give me one.
When my dad died, I felt really sad knowing that I would never see him again.
When my dad died, I felt sad. At the same time, it was my first reaction was to laugh. And I was like, why am I laughing? And then I tried to hold it in, and I was like, this ain't working. And my mom was like, just laugh if you have to laugh. And I was like, okay. And I burst out into laughter. I don't know why.
When my dad died, I felt a very mixed emotion, and it was very hard to describe what emotion it was.
When my dad died, I was in complete disbelief. I remember being at the hospital that morning and thinking, let's go home and see Dad. Oh, wait.
When my mom died, I was really sad. I was kind of socially distant, and I didn't feel like myself. I was definitely devastated. didn't feel like myself. It just kind of wasn't me. It was like someone else. It was like another of me.
When my dad died, I felt very, very, very sad.
When my dad died, I felt worried because I didn't know if we were going to be okay.
Okay, so when my grandma died, I definitely felt very broken and shocked and devastated. It's something that is a shocker, I feel like, for every kid in this age, because you think they're people you love is going to stay forever. So it definitely hurts.
When my dad died, I felt upset and shocked because I didn't think he would end his life.
When my dad died, I was very shocked from the moment that my stepmother told me. Before my dad died, I had weird dreams and feelings that one day my dad would not have a good death, and they would keep telling me oh, those dreams don't mean anything. And it's weird because now I feel when I had those dreams that I knew what was gonna happen to my dad, which is still kind of weird to believe.
When when my dad died, I felt really sad and I didn't feel a lot, just didn't feel a lot of emotions, mostly just sad.
When my dad died, I felt sad and a little surprised. I also wasn't there, so I was a little unaware.
When my dad died, I felt sad and mad.
My dad died when I was 9 years old, and when my dad died, I felt really confused, sad, and angry. It was also just a really big bad surprise, and when I say that, I mean I knew it was going to happen. It was just weird to think about because one day I had him, and then the next day I didn't.
We also wanted to hear what helps when they're missing their person.
What helps when I'm missing my dad is I think about him. I sometimes look at pictures of him. Sometimes I just remember some of the memories we had together.
What helps when I miss seeing my person is my dog and my horse.
What helps when I'm missing my person? I talk to my dad.
What helps when I'm missing my dad is taking my star that my mom gave me and putting it to my heart.
What helps when I'm missing my person is my dad's PJ pants.
What helps when I'm missing my dad is trying to think what he'd say if he were here.
Sometimes when I miss my mom, what helps is just to read a book. I love books. Especially, there's a book that I got, but it's called Another Kind, and it's that these people, quite a few of them actually lost all of their parents. It kind of reminds me of what happened to me, and it helps me. And the reading, because my mom used to read to me, it definitely reminds me of her and makes me feel better.
What helps when I'm missing my dad is I just feel what I feel. If I'm sad, I let myself cry. If I'm angry, I just scribble on a piece of paper or punch a pillow. If sometimes I'm feeling it all, I do dance, so I just open the gates and dance my heart out. It really helps.
What helps me when I'm missing my dad is looking at photos, because I'm the exact version of him, and listening to his voices on videos.
I don't miss my dad.
When I miss my dad, what helps me is just looking at photos of him.
Something that helps when I'm missing my mom is listening to videos of her talking and seeing how lively she was, because I get told by her friends and I get told by my family that I remind them so much of her, and it really means a lot to see how much they had, been impacted by my mom.
What helps me when I'm missing my dad is to think of good memories.
What helps me when I'm missing my person is having fun or during a therapy session.
What helps me when I'm missing my person is mostly I like doing hobbies or sports like soccer or track, and I like drawing and playing music a lot and spending time with my pets. I have dogs, birds, chickens, and a goat.
When my dad died, what helps me to feel better is play with my toys or hug my mom or go see family.
What helps when I'm ever missing her, I mostly listen to music. It's been like my personal therapist before I actually went to one. It really helped me for a very long time. Or I do art because she taught me how to do a bunch of arts and crafts. We did crickets when we were younger. And I typically talk with her. Her urn or box is in my grandpa's room, and sometimes I'll go in there, I'll have my moment, I'll shed some tears, but I'll tell her I miss her so much.
What helps is sometimes talking about them, even to people that didn't know them. Like some of my friends, I talked to one of my friends about my dad and my mom, like when it first happened, and that was kind of helpful.
What helps when I'm missing my person, I like to listen to the music that she loved to listen to. Really like to look back and remember all the good times I had with her.
What helps when I'm missing my person is, I'm not a big crier. Usually, I think it's about, I'd say once a year, I have just what I call it a big cry. And all the stress I've been feeling, it's built up. And then I let it go for that 5 minutes. And then it's gone, and I don't cry for the rest of the year. And then it comes back again, and I guess that part comes out too.
Oh, when I'm missing my dad, my mom helped me a lot. Because she, hugged me a lot. When I would cry, she also hugged me. She would talk about it with me.
When I'm missing my person, it helps to talk with my mom and have her pray for me, and yeah.
What helps me when I'm missing my dad is to think of good memories.
What helps when I'm missing my person is I usually go into my room and I'll read my book.
What helps when I'm missing my dad is I hug my dad's sweatshirt and I snuggle with the toy he gave me.
When asked how their grief was feeling in the moment, their answers ranged from light and easy to up and down to heavy and hard.
Right now, my grief feels kind of empty without her and really sad.
Today I feel good. I'm happy. I still remember him, but I have a lot in my life going on, so I'm not always feeling sad about it.
Today my grief feels very mixed and like a new open door just waiting to come open.
Today my grief feels like sunny skies.
Today my grief feels like empty.
My grief has been pretty good so far. It's grown. I still obviously have my days where I don't feel good, but today I feel pretty good.
Today, my grief feels like once in a month I get that same feeling when I found out for about a week.
Today my grief feels like really very, very sad.
Today, my grief feels smaller. It's easier to live and doesn't usually get in the way a lot.
Today, my grief kind of just feels like I've been stolen from in a way because my father dying took away things that I can't do now.
It feels frustrating and that my dad can't see me grow up and all that stuff.
Today my grief feels calm and chill because I'm doing almost nothing at all.
Today my grief feels more like it's rising and falling no matter what happens in the day. It's almost like when you're breathing because it rises and falls.
Today, my grief, I don't really feel my grief. It feels very subtle, almost not there, but I do miss them.
When they forecasted how they would like their grief to feel in the future, it was a really good reminder that getting rid of grief is not the goal.
In the future, I hope my grief feels happy.
In the future, I hope my grief feels a lot better.
In the future, I hope my grief feels like ice cream and I do a little bit of pictures.
In the future, I am praying that my grief feels softer and not as intense as it is today, like a slow burn rather than huge waves every single day.
In the future, I wish my grief could be there, kind of maybe like an umbrella, where sometimes I pull it out and when I need it, and it could shelter me from other things. Or maybe like a wallet where I use it often, but then it definitely helps to know that it's probably going to get better in the future.
Today my grief feels like, I don't really know. Just happy, probably, for him, that he's out of pain.
In the future, I hope my grief feels lighter, or at least less mad and sad.
Since I've gone through a lot of growth in the future, I hope my grief just feels better and I won't go over dramatic if someone talks about their dad or a different person's dad, that I won't be like, oh, I don't have one.
In the future, I hope my grief feels very, very happy.
In the future, I hope my grief feels like forgiveness, and I hope I can fully forgive my mom and my dad, but mainly my dad.
In the future, I hope my grief feels, well, I honestly hope it's still there, because I feel like it would be crude not to grieve for someone who was there for 7-8 years of your life. No, wait, more than that. 10 to 9 years? Yeah.
In the future, I hope my grief feels like it's still there, because I can't forget. It makes me strong and helps me remember my dad.
In the future, I really hope that I'll be able to understand what happens and help myself go through this hard time.
In the future, I want my grief to be, well, I'm still going to be sad, of course, but I want it to be where I know that I will see my dad again. So I hope not to feel sad anymore, and I hope to be happy if I see them again.
In the future, I hope my grief feels somewhat the same, for it not to be completely silenced, but a small whisper and not getting in the way.
I hope my grief kind of stays the same, I guess, because without these feelings, I feel like I'd feel empty, and I don't want to feel empty.
And in the future, I kind of hope my grief will feel like it's just floating away. And I don't really have my grief anymore. It's just there, sort of. and so it feels like it kind of just disapparated, or someone in Harry Potter took it away with their like Crucio charm or something like that. Anyway, same thing. So, yeah.
In the future, I hope I feel the same way but still remember him for who he was and all the good memories we had together.
Some kids also forecasted what they would do or say if they could spend time with their person again.
If I could talk to my dad again, I'd tell him, "Look at me now, I'm so much better than you would have expected."
If I could talk to my dad again, I would tell him I love you.
If I could talk to my dad again, I'd tell him I want to be a doctor just like you and I miss you.
If we had one more day together, I'd love to go out on the boat with him.
If I could see my dad one more time, I would go to the trampoline park with him.
If we had one more day together, I'd love to go fishing or mountain biking.
If we had one more day together, I'd like to watch him drive his boat and wakeboard.
A few kids also shared what it's like for them when they hear their friends and other kids talking about their parents.
When other kids talk about their dads, I feel jealous.
When other kids talk about their dads, I feel upset and jealous because I don't have what they have.
When other kids talk about their dads, I feel jealous that they have a dad.
And finally, here's some outtakes from my attempt to interview some very eager kids from our Littles group for those who were 3 to 5 years old. What's something you used to like to do with your daddy?
Play with him.
Play with him? What kinds of things would you play?
I would play with trains with him.
Play trains with him?
Yeah, that's the only thing I would do.
When you're missing your dad or feeling sad about him, what helps you?
I take a deep breath.
Take a deep breath.
Mm-hmm.
What else would you like me to know about your dad?
That's all.
That's all? What did you like to do with your mama?
Dance with her. And I also liked her when she giggled.
Do you remember what color your daddy's hair was?
No, it was black.
Black hair. So, who would like to tell me who died in their life?
My dad. My dad.
Your dad?
My dad.
If you could see your dad one more time, what would you say to them? Do you know what you would say?
Snuggle.
Snuggle.
Wait, I would say snuggle too.
Snuggle too?
I would say snuggle too.
3 snuggles. I don't know about you, but I feel like I just got an advanced degree in children, teens, and grief by hearing directly from them about how the deaths of their parents and caregivers and siblings affected them and continue to impact them as they grow up. We hope this episode helps you feel more informed and have a deeper understanding of the experiences of children who are grieving. I want to say thank you again to each child and teen who made this episode a reality, and also to their parents and caregivers who facilitated their participation and tried alongside the rest of us to define grief. I also want to thank you listeners for being part of our community and for sharing the show with others. Want to learn more this month? Be sure to sign up for our free webinar, Too Young to Grieve. That's happening on Thursday, November 21st from 10 to 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time. You can register at our website, dougy.org. That's also where you're going to find information about our local programming, all of our free downloadable resources like tip sheets and activity sheets, and of course, each and every episode of Grief Out Loud. I'm excited as always to share that this podcast is sponsored in part by the Chester Stephan Endowment Fund. Grief Out Loud is a production of Dougy Center, the National Grief Center for Children and Families. Thanks again for listening. We hope you'll join us again next time.